Mishka, can you hear and can you see me? Give me a yes or a no if you are still online. Excellent, excellent. Toda rabah, Sergio. Toda rabah, Daniel. Basically, I don't know what's happened with the studio, but this happened the other evening. But I've got a quick workaround for it. So toda for staying with us and being patient. Greatly appreciate that. I sometimes you're instant to say, Hasatan is trying to do this. Wrong. No, it isn't. He doesn't have that kind of power. Okay. So basically, I'm just grateful that we're able to continue to share this Torah study, this Parashah, this pasuk is so important because we're talking about the Menorah, and I was during the time that I was beginning this again, and I got some intel that I could just continue but go to a different component. So that is what the takeaway is from this, is that Hashem always has an open door. It's just a question of whether we respond or react. And we should always choose to respond. Toda rabah to Rebbe and the Beit Din for allowing me to be here and to be part of this Aliyah. This is the third Aliyah, and the opportunity to follow the excellent teaching from our Gabbai yesterday, Yosef. And I just want to thank him for that. And hey, more to come. So get ready for it. And again, I want to thank my Rebbe. I know his jury duty. That's basically what he's on. He's enjoying jury duty. So that's just something we all have to face. But toda rabah that we live in a country that will allow us as legal citizens and as bona fide individuals who are in proper standing are the only ones who can do this. So I am very grateful to be able to do jury duty, and hopefully he's having fun, or if he's chosen or if he's not chosen. So, but anyway, toda rabah for that, Zagan. And again, I like I said before, I always enjoy studying. It's an enjoyment. It was an enjoyment just doing this. There are so many references on the Menorah. There's so many references that it's amazing. I'm surrounded by references, but I said, okay, go here, go here, go here, go here. And I stopped and realized that, hey, what next to the Mogen David, what is the most prevalent Jewish symbol out there? And it is the Menorah. And there's a reason for this. And this is what I'd like to discuss with us today. And of course, this is from the third Aliyah, the third portion, Exodus 25:31 through 26:14. But we're just going to focus on the Menorah. The second part of it, of course, is about the roof of the Mishkan. There's some very, very clear, important insights that are strategically placed for the time that we are in today. So again, toda rabah for being with us. Let me go through and welcome those of you who are here. And I'm going to try and go through this because, as I said before, basically what happened was the system just wouldn't go live, and so I had to go back, and so there are a group of names here. Hopefully, I'm seeing everyone here. So, Boker Tov to all of you, and again, toda rabah for being with us this morning. The Center for Lapid Judaism, and we are in the third Aliyah. And so good morning. Let's see here. Laurie, good morning. Ariella, good morning, ma'am. Peaches, formerly from Georgia. How are you this morning? Sergio, good morning, sir. Daniel Fortune, good morning, sir. Zagan, Toda Rabah, felt your prayers, needed them, appreciated it. Kim, good morning. Boker Tov. Timothy Jero, let's see. And let's see. Jubilee, Boker Tov. There's the lady. Keturah, Boker Tov, lady, wife, with. Let's see. Sarah Merritt, Boker Tov. Toda Rabah for you and Shane's assistance. A very wonderful person. Let's see. Brenda Jones, Boker Tov. Let's see who else here. Nellie Grace, Boker Tov. Yosef Shalom, Shanolef, Boker Tov. Let's see here. Samuel, Boker Tov, Beard of Prey, Boker Tov, Grace, Boker Tov, Janine, Boker Tov, Shoshana Brenner, okay, Boker Tov, welcome. And let's see, now that's pretty much who was there before. Let's see if there's anyone different who's here afterwards. Chris and Crystal Lopez. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to be there for you and to allow you to be praying for us because we greatly need it. Toda Rabah. Let's see, Yosef, Gianna, Boker Tov, Aliyah, good, Boker Tov. Let's see who else here. Anthony Collins, Boker Tov, sir. Let's see, Leslie Dykes, I think I've spoken. Let's see, Michelle, and we've got a lot of people here. Jubilee, Kathy, Boker Tov, and let's see, I think that's it. David White. You had jury duty too, huh? This month too? Well, Baruch HaShem, it looks like they're making their rounds, but I'm grateful to be in a country where we still can be chosen and where we still have the opportunity to do this. And let's see. Michelle Hayes, Boker Tov, and let's see. I think we've gotten pretty well. If I've missed anyone, it is not by choice, I promise you. I always want to make mention of, let's say, Michelle, Abraham, 26, Boker Tov, Heather, Boker Tov. Let's see who else. Daniel, Boker Tov. Hey, love you, whether you like it or not. I love you. Okay, Emmanuel, and let's see, Jolene. Oh, okay, and okay, Rebecca, Boker Tov, Greg, Boker Tov, and yes. So I think we've gotten everyone there. Well, that's a beautiful list, and I'm sure there'll be more to join. But I want to get into this. It's very important, again, that we are successful in our Judaism. And this is one of the reasons why, and this is why I chose this title, The Menorah, the sweet Jewish life of community, because that's what the Menorah is all about. And I'm going to share some things with you that will help us see this. And so I want to take a moment to pretty much optimize this by seizing the opportunity to go back to the first Aliyah and share with you the first. Let's see. Let me get my trusty Chumash here, and I love the I love all the Chumash, and I have a great love for also, especially for the Gutnik. And so I want to read the first, let's see, and let me get back to it. I had it, here it is. I'm going to read the first section of this. Listen to this. And this is Pasuk 25, chapter 25. God spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the children of Israel and have them, listen to this, have them dedicate to me a contribution. Take my offering from every person whose heart inspires him to generosity. These are those types of contributions that you shall collect from them. Now, I wanted to go back to that very first statement there, because that is so key to understanding the Mishkan and all of the elements, how it was made, and how the fact that before it was made, the vision had to be given to a man. And that man had problems seeing that vision, and how Hashem brought individuals into his life to actually build according to the insights and according to the Torah that was inside of those individuals, ones who are called alongside to help us when we can't really see the vision that we know that Hashem has called us to. So I wanted to bring that up simply because Terumah also means contribution. And since the Mishkan was constructed from the contributions made by the Jewish people, it prompts us to ask the question, why is the Parashah about God's house named after man's contributions? And this is the Hasidic thought on this. And God created the world because he had a plan. But the plan contains a clause. The plan is that God's presence should be revealed in the world. Get this. The clause is that this plan should occur by the efforts of man. Ergo, contributions. And why? At the giving of the Torah, God stated his plan. He taught us that we can reveal his presence in the world performing the mitzvah, the giving of the Torah. Now, but at that moment, everything had come from God, because at that moment, there was no participation at that moment from man. Okay. With the construction of the Mishkan, or the tabernacle, God's clause began to be implemented. Now man had made an effort to help God's plan, reach fruition. It is for this reason that our Parashah, which speaks of God's house, is named after man's contributions. For God's house could only be completed when his clause for human involvement was adhered to. Mishpachah, are you hearing this? Our involvement was designed by the divine presence of Hashem. So that means that we have every ability to be involved in his plan. That means today. And this is why the sweet light, Jewish light of the Menorah is all about community. That's where we are. And this is what we're building here. This is what you're a part of. This is what you're becoming a part of. And this is why I want you to really take note about what we're talking about here, because these insights are going to give us good intel on why we're together. why we stay together, why we live together, why we grow together. Okay. So let's see. I had everything in a particular order, but that's okay. Now, back to the beginning again. And as I said, God spoke to the children of Israel, and he said, dedicate a contribution and make that contribution. Dedicate, that means to purposely, before you even, once you think about it, within here, dedicate it. You may not see it yet, but dedicate the idea, the thought that you are going to make a contribution, okay, to Hashem. And it's you're talking about, take my offering from every person whose heart inspires him to generosity. Now we go back to Matthew 15:19, where it says, for out of the heart comes every evil thought, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. So where does generosity come in here? Where generosity comes in is Torah, because it is Torah that inspires our heart to generosity. So ergo, no Torah, no inspired heart of generosity. So I wanted to make sure that we got that involved first. Now, the Mishnah, think about this, the Menorah. It said that the Menorah had to be beaten out of a single piece of gold. Now, can you imagine this? The Menorah itself, when you're looking at the Menorah in the Mishkan, realizing that it began as one and only one piece of gold. That meant that it had to be beaten out. And the term beaten, we're going to discuss that also, because gold is a malleable, or the term malleable, which means basically how much material can be hammered into a shape without breaking. Whereas gold is very soft. And there's a reason, because that gold represents us, our soul, and also represents our community. And so how we are shaped into a community. The menorah could only come from one piece of gold. You could not add to it. If you began the menorah and added a piece, the menorah was invalid. So that menorah had to be beat out to a fine, thin surface and shaped and molded. Each piece had to be molded within the piece that was there, because nothing else could be added. So this is one of the things that Moshe wasn't able to see at the time. So let me go here to, I'm going to read another insight here that will be very, very forthwith to us. And let's see here. This is from Ma'am Loaz. I love these. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Here, and of course, beginning with the beginning of the Ailyah, make a menorah out of fine gold. Okay. Out of pure gold. The menorah shall be formed by hammering. Its base, stem, and decorative cups, spears, and blossoms must be hammered out of a single piece of gold. Okay, and let's see. Okay. Please pardon me. I had to move some things around, so it put some things out of order. But I'm not even. Don't even let that fray us. So the menorah, or the candelabrum, had to be beaten out of a single piece of gold. It could not be made of separate pieces joined together. Normally, when the candelabras are made, the base is made separately, the branches separately, and the lamps separately, and then they are all joined together. The menorah in the tabernacle could not be made in such a manner. Rather, it had to be beaten out of a single piece of gold. The workers began with a simple ingot of gold, or a simple piece of gold. Ingot is a standard and a size of gold, an amount. Okay. Then they beat it flat and separated it into branches. Now, when they say separated it into branches, it doesn't mean that they took it apart or tore it apart or used heat to take it apart. It means that they formed those branches within the single sheet. Every aspect of it. Can you imagine this? The artisans, the artistry that's required. This is why Hashem showed Moshe this first, and he actually showed him this on Sinai, on the mountain. So he gave him this insight on the mountain, and he couldn't see it. And so basically what happens is Hashem puts out a visual for him. Now he's getting more of an insight, but he's a bit more confused. And we're going to go over why, because that happens to us today. Okay, and there's a cure for it. Okay. And these were beaten into proper shapes in this manner. Okay. The entire menorah was made of a single piece of gold. Now, I want to go to, let's see, page 71 here. We can now describe the entire menorah. Actually, let me do this. 40. This one section here. Carefully observe the pattern that you will be shown on the mountain, and make the menorah in that manner. And as I said before, this is Hashem speaking to Moshe. Carefully observe what I'm showing you here on this mountain, so that it will be observed in all facets. There can be no ounce of mistake. There can be no smallest entity of imperfection. Okay. So from there, I want to go to, let's see, here it is. When any creature in all the worlds focuses on God, on the divine brilliance that transcends all the worlds, those who gaze upon it are, on account of this brilliance, permeated with awe and fear. This is what was happening with Moshe, because he was seeing something so great, so vast, not that he couldn't absorb it, but that he hadn't really been prepared yet to absorb it. That would take place at a later time in a moment. But this is what happens when Hashem gives us an idea, or gives us a facet of an idea. It's so large that we're trying to take it all at one time. And what has to happen is, through Torah study, through mitzvah, we must take that down to a size that we can take it in and deal with it step by step. And let's see, I want to, go to, Just a moment. Now, sorry about that. I usually have everything in play here, but like I said, it won't get me down. Just hang with me just for a moment so that I can get this back in order. I hope what I've said so far has made sense, because here we go. Yeah, there we are. Because even with the difficulties that were held this morning, and something I just found everything and just put it back in order so that we can continue. Even in this, HaShem has a purpose, even in this, what appears to be a disorder. Moshe also found it very difficult to picture the menorah. God therefore showed him a fiery menorah in heaven. Regarding this, God says, this is the form of the menorah. And also this is, when you look at Bamidbar 8:4, that is after the fact. So what HaShem was doing was he was looking ahead, and he showed Moshe what the menorah would. He looked into the future and showed Moshe what to see, what to look for, and all the nuances of that. So, and God said, this is the form. And the word indicates this indicates that God was actually pointing to something that he was showing Moshe, not just giving Moshe thoughts and are giving him verbal instruction and having Moshe think about it or form those concepts in his mind. But now he's saying, okay, they're beginning to form in your mind, but let me show you, let me give you a concept, not just conceptual, but let me give you a figure. And he showed him this, okay? Now God here told Moses, carefully observe the patterns that you will be shown on the mountain. God was speaking of the form of the menorah that he would show Moshe. The Torah literally says, make the menorah with the form, okay, that you will be shown. It does not say like the form itself, but like the form you will be shown, okay? This was because it was impossible for Moses to make the menorah exactly like the one he saw in heaven. The heavenly menorah was a spiritual object made of red, white, and green fire. The difference between, and here's something that we must understand even in our daily understanding of this, in what we do daily. The difference between something spiritual and something physical is very great indeed. And yes, it is. So transferring something that is spiritually in our thoughts to something physically in the realm where we live is a process. And it is a process that, as we look at that sweet, sacred Jewish light of the menorah, helps us remember, and it reminds us that HaShem gives us a thought of even something as simple as a mitzvah. He gives us a thought. We think it, we follow through, we bring it into fruition, but he is also there to guide us through that process. Okay? God was telling Moshe to look carefully at the patterns of the spiritual menorah so as to have wisdom to make the menorah out of gold. The Torah thus says, this is a form of menorah, okay? And this is where it refers back to Bamidbar 8:4, okay? And let's see here. At first, when God told Moshe to make the menorah, it was very difficult. Again, it was very difficult for him to understand. He could not comprehend it. And he asked, and he asked, how can something like this be made? Hashem, how can I do what you've put in front of me to do? How can we build this community? How can we do this? How can we teach Torah to millions based around the Moshiach Yeshua? How can we do this? Well, same question Moshe is asking, and we're on that mountain now. And this is what Hashem is telling us. God then showed him a fiery menorah in the sky, and he understood. However, when Moshe descended from Mount Sinai, he forgot how to make it. He said, Lord of the universe, I forgot the form of the menorah. God then showed it to him again. But now Moshe found it very difficult and difficult to understand. And this is the reason why I read before, because Moshe was so enamored by the wonder and awe of what he was being told that there was a fear that occurred. And understanding how to deal with that fear when God gives a vision. When God gives a vision in our spirits, in our souls, how do we react or respond to that vision? And yes, there's a fear that will come, because there is absolutely, I've felt that this week in looking at the dealing with painting this house. Man, I'm looking at this massive house, and how can I see this? And it's Hashem who's basically given me that light to be able to see how it's being done. Now, here's another thing. God took a mass of fire and showed Moshe how it could be made into a menorah. But Moshe still could not understand. Finally, God said to him, go to Betzael, hear this, and he will make it. God was actually telling Moshe to take a talent of gold, bring it to a man, so that he could throw it into the fire and allow the menorah to be made on its own. God, however, did not want to say this explicitly to Moshe, so he merely told him to go to Betzael. My Betzael has been my brother Herman, because he sees it, I don't. And I'm gaining a sighting, but he sees the whole picture. And this is where Hashem places these individuals in our lives. This is how we've got to understand that, how to look when we see the menorah, when we see the light of God, and when we see these things that Hashem is putting in our paths. How do we know it's real? How do we know that this is the person, or these are the people that I am to speak with? Why? Because God brings wisdom, and I'll show you why. The form of the menorah symbolizes the Torah. Get that basic structure. If you have a menorah in your home right now, look at the menorah. Or if you have a photograph of it, look at the menorah. The seven candlestick menorah, okay? And the seven branches parallel the seven words, and hear this, the seven words in the first verse of Bereshit in the original Hebrew. The 11 spheres on the menorah parallel the 11 words in the first verse of Shemot. The 9 blossoms parallel the 9 words in the first verse of Leviticus, of Vayikra. The height of the menorah was 18 hand breadths. As we said, one handbreadth, however, was not complete. So the actual height of the menorah was 17 handbreadths and a bit, it says here, and a big bit extra. These parallel the 17 words in the first verse of B'mitzvah. The 22 cups of the menorah parallel the 22 words in the first verse of Deuteronomy. It therefore comes out that the first verses of all 5 books of the Torah are alluded to in the menorah. The total number is 49. Okay. Now, the reason I said this is because everything in Judaism points to ultimately Torah. However, the menorah points directly to a form that out of one ingot of gold, one soul, the sweet Jewish light of community was built. And hammered, we think of hammered as beating. That's not hammering. Hammering, relationship to us, is life and what we go through in life. How we deal with it, how we respond to it. This is what we do. This is why we have this. This is why I went through this portion of knowing what the menorah stands for and what each intricate part, because remember, you had a left side of the menorah and you had a right side of the menorah, and they had to match perfectly. There were no tolerances in my field and many other learned applications and field. You have tolerance levels. In the building of the menorah, there was absolutely no tolerance. There was no plus or minus give factor. It had to be perfect on either side. So having someone know how to do this is key. So I want to also read something from, let's see, here. Let's see here. The one I want to give you just a bit of insight about Bezalel. And this is, yeah, here it is. Okay, this is a synopsis from the Zohar. Okay, in the book of Rabbi Hanunan, okay, Saba, okay, the elder, we learn here that it speaks of 2 letters, the He and the Tet, which are in the word for sin. Okay? These letters are withheld from the tribes of Israel so that they should not be marked with sin. That doesn't mean that they don't sin. It says that we don't have a mark on us for sin. Okay? In the tabernacle, in the Mishkan, all the letters of the alphabet are engraved as in the secret, as in the secret of the holy name. Yad, He, Vav, He. Okay? Now, Bezalel, who knew the wisdom of joining the letters with which heaven and earth were created, was chosen above by God and was also chosen below. His name, we are told, means in shadow of L. Capital E, capital E and L. We next read of of L. So now here Hashem brings this individual and Moshe with the mental, this gentleman, this man with the physical, tangible, and mystical abilities to be able to do. Why? Because of intimate Torah study. Now, I want to take just a little bit more time and we'll end this. And I want to read something to you. This morning when I got up, everything was resolved and I was ready. And then as I was thinking about this, how do I end this? And I want to end it this way. It is not always so in Israel. In early times, Torah knowledge and the fear of heaven perfectly complemented each other. Like inseparable twins, great Torah scholars were adorned with the pearls of fear. And the value of their wisdom was consistent with the value of their reverence. Wisdom transcends time and space. Remember that. So as in days of old and former years, that wisdom there is here now. The Menorah, just as Hashem in Exodus, in Shemot, shows Moshe the Menorah in Bamidbar, Numbers, shows him that this is how Hashem shows us things in the future now. Okay? So wisdom transcends time and space. Torah causes this to be. Why? Because Torah has always been. Period. Okay? Mount Sinai, is a reference point for man, not the beginning of the Torah. Okay? The beginning of the Torah or the beginning of the oral law. When we fight to tear down, and Mishkan, this is very important, when we fight to tear down our laws, including the oral law, or listen to those who do, wisdom has nothing to attach itself to within man. Without our laws, without our oral laws, wisdom has nothing to attach itself to. When you can't see what Hashem is instructing you to do, our laws are in full view. They bring shape to our daily needs and desires, including bringing us in contact with those who help us with Hashem's instruction. Those who tear down the laws of Hashem, will always be the enemy to Torah study and the fear of heaven. Mishkan homework today and from this day on. When you see the sweet Jewish light of the menorah, stop. Check your attitude at that time. And where's your soul's level of Torah knowledge and fear of heaven? Check on it. This is where we're doing an accounting. This helps Bitcoin. This builds Bitcoin. This elevates us. These are instructions on what to do. These are the instructions that Hashem gave Moshe. And when Moshe followed them, even though they were given to him mentally, he brought alongside individuals who could do what he thought as he gave, because they had special giftings. So those individuals who will be called alongside of us today with special giftings, if we are in Torah study, or if we do mitzvah, and both, because remember, they're the same, that brings about the instructions of what HaShem has placed in us to do. So keep your part of our community great, because that's what HaShem did for Moshiach. Practice it daily, and you'll see a great difference in your life. Mishkan, that's the end of the Aliyah. Todah Rabbah for being with us this morning. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. Please like the video, share it. Go on to our, go back and watch Yosef's. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be Zagan Yagal, and Thursday is going to be Daniel. And if Rebbe is free, I think it'll be him. If not, then we'll pick it up again. So anyway, Todah Rabbah for being with us. And we greatly care and love you. And we want you fully involved and paralleled with Torah study and the fear of heaven. So remember that menorah. Take guard to cause yourself to want to be that Jewish light, to be with that Jewish light. Shavua Tov.